The Retirement Cafe podcast, improving wellbeing with the community living with Jamie Bunce. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Retirement Cafe podcast with me, your host, Justin King. If you're thinking about your retirement or already retired, you're in the right place. My aim is to help you plan for and live a successful and meaningful retirement. Retirement is far more than just a financial event. It's a significant life event, a major transition, which will bring with it new challenges and opportunities. So each episode contains tips, information, and inspiration to help you feel more informed and confident about your retirement. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you join me for this week's podcast. This week, I'm excited to share with you a conversation I had a little while back with Jamie Bunce. Jamie Bunce is the CEO of retirement living operator Inspired Villages. Jamie has 30 years of property construction and development experience, which in the past 10 years has led him to develop Inspired Villages, a set of later life living communities across the UK that have a focus on well-being and independence. Jamie is passionate about how retirement communities can help retirees maintain their well-being as they get older. He hopes that preventative care will not only better the quality of life for the residents living in Inspired Villages, but also reduce pressure on our NHS. Jamie strives to keep the physical, psychological, social and financial well-being of the residents at the forefront of everything Inspired Villages does. In our conversation, Jamie shares the importance of Inspired Villages' core value of always having time for a cup of tea, how the pandemic had brought home to people the importance of connecting with others regularly, and how Inspired Villages communities deliver on being far more than just bricks and mortar. He explained how the rental and purchase options and the costs involved in living in one of Inspired Villages' complexes. Jamie and I recorded this conversation a few months ago now, and since then Inspired Villages has gone from strength to strength. They now have 7 villages up and running as opposed to the 6 mentioned in our conversation, with 3 more on the way. Inspired Villages is also now backed by a joint venture partnership between Legal & General and NatWest Group Pension Fund. So, without any more delay, here's my conversation with Jamie Bunce. So, welcome to the Retirement Cafe podcast, Jamie Bunce.
Thank you, Justin. It's great to be here.
Good to see you. So, Jamie, for those who don't know you, I know you're the CEO of Inspired Villages. Tell me about Inspired Villages.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Yeah, Inspired Villages, we're an operator and developer of retirement communities across the UK. We currently have 6 operating communities throughout the UK, with a further 3 under construction. Wow. And then another, 12 plus that are going through the planning system as we speak. And then a series of other opportunities that we're investigating in order to sort of fill our platform. We were formed in 2017 when Legal & General bought my business. And we managed to embark on a partnership with a patient capital provider in Legal & General, which has been really good because what it allows us to do is make the right decisions. So we see ourselves as being very customer-centric, doing the right thing, focusing very much on our customers, as in our residents, their families, and our colleagues and their families, in order to create a sort of really exciting place for people to live that we see very much more than just bricks and mortar.
So you mentioned a couple of terms there, the communities that you're kind of involved with. Tell me, well, first of all, where are they? So people who listen might go, there's one of these down the road from us. I've always been interested in them. And what makes you different than any other kind of provider in this marketplace?
Okay, well, our communities are again, throughout the country. So our furthest one up north is in Cheshire, just outside a village called Tattenall, which is about 8 miles south of Chester, and that's called Gifford Lee. We then have 2 in Warwickshire, one in 80 acres of woodlands setting just outside a village called Great All, which is between Stratford-upon-Avon and Henley in Arden. We've got then another one that's sort of 10, 15 miles down the road from there, which is on the edge of Warwick. which is our community at Austin Heath. We go down to one in Faygate, which is near Horsham, which is our Durrance community. Another one near Liphook, which is Bramshot. And then our furthest one south is in Exeter, which is Millbrook Village. Each of our communities have a mix of independent and assisted living, very much centered around our strategy of holistic well-being, which is our point of difference. So we focus on the physical, mental, social and financial well-being of those that live with us, their families and our colleagues. It's important that we have a really in tune group of people working at the communities as well as those living in them. Focus on holistic well-being allows us really to center around those 4 pillars in our decision making. So our decision making in terms of what's the right thing to do has to really sort of satisfy those areas, which I think gives us that real focus in order to do the right thing. We're very data. We use data to help us drive decision making, and we very much are creating communities that are real communities. So a mix of people with different personalities, different outlooks, different requirements, and our team are there for them if and when they need that. So very much sort of a person-centric view on their aging is probably the right way to say.
Sure. So how many people would be in a community, and kind of give me a definition of what a community really is to you and
okay, so typically our communities are around about 150 apartments, catering for 220 people, and then really our average age is 79. Our eldest is 104 and our youngest is I think 66. And what we find is as people grow older, their needs change and they're very individual. And we tend to find that when you look at a traditional age living setting, it's not able to flex a lot for people. It's very binary in terms of their needs, their requirements, their support that they want. So you have regulatory support on each of our villages. So we have a third-party domiciliary care agency, albeit people can use their own domiciliary care if they need it. And for the non-regulatory care, the cups of tea. So for us, one of our values is to always have time for a cup of tea. So our people who work, each village would have sort of 25 to 30 full-time equivalent people working there, and they become friends of people within the village. So you'll find time where somebody will sit there and they'll confide and they'll chat and they'll just engage with them. Which links back to a desire that I have, which is to have a better focus on biological age than chronological age. So for me, it's more important about how well you are, not how old you are. And for us, we are caring and not carers, which is sort of fundamental bits there, and where technology and the like can really help us create better outcomes and a much better quality hand-holding for people as they grow older.
Sure. So, are you full? Are the vacancies? We hear about a care crisis in the UK, and availability of spaces, etc. Where are you at?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the focus, certainly pre-COVID and during the pandemic, was around care homes. We are not a care home. That is not. We are so not a care home. I think care homes are places where specialist care is best sought. So for us, we offer care in your own home. So we're in the private end of the market, so we're not in the social end of the market. I say we operate in the sort of the bottom part of the top quarter, if you know what I mean. So we're sort of in the private fee paying section. Typical apartment size would range between sort of 600 square feet to 2,500 square feet, from £190,000 to £1.2 million for our customers. Our established communities are pretty full. They've got one or two vacant apartments currently. Our emerging villages are filling nicely, and we've just launched our sales suite street at Leddy and Gardens in Leeds in Kent at the weekend, and we're sort of 45% pre-sold, and we are looking to open that at the turn of the year, so it's sort of November, December of this year. So we're seeing, what we saw is post-pandemic, a real need for people to live in communities, to be able to have somebody there that's on hand closer than they were before. And I think the pandemic has certainly highlighted to everybody from all ages how much they like the idea of seeing other people. You know, even people who are traditionally quite grumpy have enjoyed the fact that they've had the opportunity to see other people. And through the pandemic, we operated a very simple system of health and well-being through food delivery, through takeaway services, through external gym sessions, through our Zoom and our on-site offer that we put in just as the pandemic hit. We launched our virtual village centre. We had 250 followers on it. We've now got 15,500. Wow. Where we just put interesting articles and events on there. So we see that we can offer more to a community than just bricks and mortar. We launched the Inspired Friendships during the pandemic, which is a befriending service that we rescued from Age UK down in Kent. And that's great. And, you know, we all have, including myself, a buddy that you call every now and then just for a chat. And we try to give half an hour of our time in order to sort of help tackle this awful pandemic of loneliness and anxiety that suffers again through the ages. So we've got lots of sort of activity on that allows us to sort of create much better outcomes for people that live with us and people that are associated with the business. And
sure.
I'm really proud of that.
Sure. So Jamie, do people come to you and buy an apartment, or can they rent an apartment? How does it work?
Okay, so traditionally, within the sector, it's been predominantly long leasehold. So people will buy 125, 250, or coming forward a 999-year lease. And they will then live with us. It's very much a sort of there was emerging other options. So there's other parties, especially down the social end of the market, that were offering shared ownership and the like. We launched our rental offer last year, and this year we're seeing a huge take up. So it sort of had a steady start, but it is now growing quite rapidly. It's an interesting opportunity for people who are probably in their mid-80s, who just really want to sort of get their affairs in order, have a different viewpoint on their home owning desire, want to release capital for them to do other things, and that market, we traditionally would think with typical scheme, sort of 20-25% of apartments would go to rental. We're seeing that it could be slightly higher as we evolve that option. So
yeah, interesting. I mean, I can see that the freeing up of capital. I mean, obviously, from my perspective, I do help people buy care home annuities and do the financial planning around that later life. But I can see how, selling the family home, realizing the capital, working out how much the rental is going to be, and obviously it all comes down to how long you're going to live. But I mean, you can make some assumptions around that and add some security in, as I would expect. But then it does allow the opportunity to spend some of the family home or even gift it away.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, we all think of capital and income in two very distinct pots, don't we? So traditionally, you would buy a house, you might spend, another £10,000 on that than you thought you would do, but you do it a blink of an eye. But your income, you obviously monitor very closely, and people as their age, they are all on fixed incomes. They're all known what their income is, and therefore, for a rental proposition, they can match that income if we can match the outgoing accordingly. So for us, we want to align the costs that people pay to live, i.e. purchase, and also their service charges or management fees as they are, to a very known number. So it's no shocks, no surprises. We align that goal, and therefore enable people to really take one pressure off themselves by way of, can I afford this? Yes, you can. Okay, can I? And then working with them through the financial element of our holistic wellbeing strategy.
Yeah. And so, Jamie, is there a different cost? Well, there must be, I'm sure, because obviously people are renting and people are purchasing. But so if let's say you come along and you sell your home and you purchase one of your apartments, and then all the additional kind of services that you provide, presumably they come at an additional cost. And how's that managed? Do they pay for everything and choose what they want, or how do you work that out?
Each of our developments within the sort of the central facility building, we have restaurants, cafes, bars. We have a swimming pool. We do have sauna, steam rooms, fitness studios, craft rooms, and the like. And then we tend to be have extensive gardens or gardens that people can use, and we focus very much on keeping the whole estate at an A1 grade position. And for that, our on-site teams can carry out the regular sort of annual maintenance and regular weekly, monthly maintenance as well. And the cost of that we wrap up into a management fee, or in our current six villages operating, we are operating inside the Act under a service charge regime. Albeit we very much like to fix that sum, so it's known, so it's no shocks. It is a known sum of money that people pay out. There's also a charge on a reassignment called an event fee, that some people call it, or an exit fee, or there's a series of names, a deferred management fee. So you'll see within the sector a series of additions to it, which is a percentage of the sale price on reassignment. And it's something that the OFT have reviewed, and ARCO, as the Association of Retirement Community Operators, have been very clear on what is required in order to people to understand what that cost is, as people are buying a property. I sit on the standards committee for ARCO, and for me that helps a value for money proposition. So for us, we reinvest a portion of that fee into the sinking fund for long-term maintenance, and then we take on the obligation for long-term maintenance on our new properties from Ledding Gardens onwards. That fee includes a complete refurbishment of the property that the person is living in, so that when it comes to resale, it is at an A1 standard. So you'll see that there is a series of costs, and in order to be a member of ARCO, you'd need to very clearly articulate those up front, so people are fully aware of it well in advance of them transacting. Interestingly, for us, the process of somebody buying a property or renting a property is not as simple as a traditional open market housing option. We very much spend time with the potential resident and their family and their advisors, where we go through all the relevant costs, all the relevant options they've got. We're due to launch a calculator on our website, so people can see what are the costs I bear now, what are the costs that cost, and actually you find it is very, very similar. There's not a lot of difference between the costs that people spend on their own homes, that then gets wrapped up in a single fee that we charge. So we're looking to try to bust those myths as we go forward, because people tend to sort of spend time in trying to think about moving. It's a very big move for people coming out of their current family home into a retirement community setting. And we want to try to sort of normalize that as best we can, and reduce and remove all the myths associated with this particular move.
Yeah, great. So tell me about the kind of tie up with Legal & General. So they came along and bought you, did they, or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was, I formed a business in 2009 called English Care Village Partnerships, and we then had an arrangement through a collaboration agreement with Anchor Hanover, where we purchased and took through planning Hampshire Lakes and Bishopstoke Park. there's 2 schemes for Anchor that are both operating and fully developed out. At the time, we then optioned up some sites ourselves and formed other relationships with landowners and high net worth individuals where they were letting us play with their sites, basically. And we were looking to sort of create this new incoming sort of way in which people could live. And over a period of time, we'd optioned some sites, and we'd made an arrangement with Places for People to form a business, which was a 50-50 joint venture company between us, of which they then put the finance in to buy Warwick, which is Austin Heath now, and Giffordley. So we started developing those two communities, and at the time, PFP liked it, so they formed their own business that's now called Brio, that was headed up by a lady called Jane Barker. And we were then in JV with a competitor. So we needed to find another route to sort of push ourselves forward. So asked kindly to the PFP exec if they would let us go out and find somebody else to buy the assets and move on. So not take the assets into their new business, but let us take that. They worked with us on that, which I'm forever grateful for. They were a very sound, strong, and honourable business. And we went out looking for investors. And this was 2016, sort of second quarter 2016. And we went out looking. And it's a very nascent sector. So lots of people come and say, yeah, we'll fund you second. Yeah, when you've got that, prove out your model, we'll fund you. And we went actually up the west coast of America, trying to speak to some of the American REITs and the like to see if they would be enticed to come into the UK. You had the rumblings of Brexit and all those other things that were going on that we needed to talk to. And as part of this journey, we got talking to Legal & General, who to start off with were going to create their own platform and the like. In many conversations that I had with many people, they were talking more and more favourably with us, and they said, look, do you want to do this where we'll buy the assets and we'll own the propco, we'll have a joint venture in the opco, so we'll work together in a partnership. But the propco transaction will be very arm's length, in essence, to within an L&G entity. And we'll go off and see if we can create the market. We closed that deal in August of 2017. And by November 2017, we'd bought a competitor in Renaissance Villages, which gave us 6 operating villages, and then a capital to create the platform that we're working through. I think we'd be further on now if it wasn't for the UK planning system that is just adds years onto a process, not just months. But we've sort of started to build the momentum now, and we've got some exciting projects that are coming forward to prove the model out and to sort of inject the energy that's required into this nascent sector.
Sure. And so, Jamie, what is the demand? I mean, how do you foresee the marketplace forward? I mean, is this a really growing part of the UK system in providing care in later life?
Yeah, well, I think it is. I mean, the numbers, you say, there's 12 million people over 65 currently in the UK, due to rise to 18 million by 2030, I think, or 2035. There's sort of 80,000 properties in housing with care currently. The supply and demand graph is disproportionately huge, and people's choice as they grow older is very narrow. So you'll see that people could, traditionally go, I'm going to move to a McCarthy and Stone or a Churchill or a Pegasus sort of property that offered no care. So that just is accommodation for people, or they would go to a care home, which unless somebody is in need of care, it's a wrong place for people to go. So they would be stuck in their own homes, or then just determined to stay in their own homes, which is probably our biggest competitor. So if you look at the numbers in terms of our aging demography through 65 plus, let alone 80 plus, which is due to grow disproportionately, and you look at the sort of percentage increases of people through to sort of 2030, 2050 onwards as such, then there is a great growth in people who are aging, and there is a not an equal sum of properties that are there to suit them as they age. So that was the exciting thing that in 2008 I established when I was doing retail property development before. So thinking, actually, this is fascinating, because there's an opportunity to do something quite special here, and therefore, tear up the rule book. What do people want? Where would you like to live when you're older? What would you like to experience? What pressure would you like to have taken away from you without your independence going? And what I love about the sector, and I love about my job, is that there is no legacy. I'm creating the legacy. So therefore, I can think about what's the right thing to do. I can then put a financial model around that. I can then get the investors to get excited about it, and then we can deliver a plan that, for us, we're suggesting that we've got sort of just under 1,000 people live with us currently, and by 2035, we're seeing that could be as many as 15,000. Well, the reality is I should be trying to do that every year, not a total of, and to be able to sort of make anything of a dent into the sort of the demography as it ages. So if the focus is on building the right real estate, but importantly, operating it very, very well. So focus on the people working within the schemes. Focus on education, training, development to find, train, and retain the best talent that is there for people as they age. And therefore, if people need to move away from us, it's only a small percentage of people when it's unsafe for them to live in their own home. They would then need to move out to a specialist setting, and that is for some forms of dementia and for extreme frailty, basically. And that's for probably a very short period of time for people, not an extended period of time, which currently is what happens. So for me, that's the exciting thing about it, is you've got an opportunity to make a tangible difference to many people's lives. And hence the reason why, our strapline is the best years of your life, because we think senior living can and should be the best years of your life. Why shouldn't it? You've paid all your debts, you've cleared all your obligations, you know what your income is, you know what capital you've got. Enjoy it, make the most of it. There's talk about, okay, well, with us on the biological age, we've engaged, we did a couple of things. We linked in with UK Active. So as part of their Reimagining Aging initiative, I linked in, I sit on a committee with the UK Active team. And we gave 30 residents Fitbits, it would be 2018, I guess now. And we said to them, right, walk 10,000 steps a day. So in 3 months, they did 15 million steps. Right? We had the fittest dogs in Exeter, no doubt. But their core strength rose. Right? Their wellness scores rose. These people became less lonely. It's obvious they become less lonely because they're out and about more, but they have a purpose. And so you thought, well, is the fruit that low hanging that to give somebody a Fitbit and say, walk 10,000 steps will have a dramatic reduction in their loneliness? And therefore their health and well-being, the way they feel about themselves, their whole demeanor, is something where you think, well, there's so much we can do. And as a society, we can do that. And if I had my way, I'd love to have the ability, because I think the grandparent through social media had pre-COVID had become sort of disengaged as the matriarch of the family, the boss of the family. And if you could have a way that if granny is walking 10,000 steps and grandchild then needs to run a mile, and then you could get some intergenerational competition, and then you could get one step further, and I'm not sure whether we've got children or how old your children are, but if you were to then have it that if the child didn't run that time, the Xbox automatically switched off. And if it ran, it switch on again. So you imagine how you could create a society where you think, actually, granny's boss again, from wherever they live. And you think you could do that. And what does that do? That reduces the quantum of burden onto the NHS. That takes out the pressure of GP visitation. It increases core strength for people. It creates it makes people live better for longer.
Yeah.
And I think that where I think myself and other, we call ourselves housing with care or retirement, because there's all sorts of different names for our sector. It's so nascent that we haven't even got a proper name for it. Is we could do these types of initiatives, make a huge difference to reduce the burden on the likes of the NHS, on local GP practices, on creating a less loneliness, less anxiety within our communities and the wider communities around us. There's just a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. Now, so I think I'm thinking that probably I'll ask you the question, but what's your biggest challenge to the business at the moment? I can think of two. In fact, maybe I'll pump up with them. I think what you said before initially is planning, number one, and then the number two, which I'm pretty sure you probably are already starting to handle, but is that myth that this is not a place I want to go when I get to 85.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the first one, the myth busting. Myth busting is so important for us, and you're seeing that starting to happen. And the pandemic has helped that myth busting, because we've shown how a community is an important aspect of our lives. So to be able to have a cup of tea with somebody, to be able to have a quick chat with somebody that you don't, is not part of your family, is one that is become much more relevant for us all of our at all ages, but certainly people as they're getting older are seeing the benefit of that, and we're certainly seeing a positive element of that helping us bust the myth. Also, with new entrants coming into the market, with more investment coming in, we're seeing every week additional investment, significant investment coming into the sector, which then will start to build that momentum. So it won't be just two or three of us sort of talking about it and being able to sort of convince ourselves that it's really good. At Warwick, we Audley have a scheme in the same town, and both ourselves and Audley see it as very positive, because it means that we don't have to educate people about it. So it's a choice. Do you want to live in a listed building, or do you want to live in a new building? Do you want to live in the middle of town, the edge of town? And that's wonderful, because you look around the world, Seattle, they've got, it's a fraction of the size of Birmingham, yet it has sort of 10 times more communities for retirement living than that same city, So you see that there's, the co-location of a competitor is good. The myth busting is important, because our biggest sort of challenge is for people to decide to leave their own homes.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is people then which links back to planning, because then planning is focused very much on starter homes and small family homes. Actually, it's the top of the market. It's this trillion pounds worth of equity that's sitting, within that the top end of the market, that should release that to allow people to move through their housing life. So therefore, it seems strange that government haven't looked to back that, and they seem to be reluctant to back social care in many ways, which is a shame, because we think that there should be planning obligations on local authorities to provide a level of housing with care for within their areas. We're probably one of the most active operators in planning. We have a significant number of schemes going through the system, and we find that we have to educate. Our first port of call is spending 2 or 3 months in educating the planning authority about what we do. So we spend our time in doing that, because then we get people on our side, because they can see there is a benefit. It's not going to be an influx of people, because most people will move within a sort of 3 to 5 mile distance from where they currently live. So therefore, the reduction in the GP visitation, the reduction in time spent in hospital from 14 days to 2 days is a benefit. The £3,500 per person per annum that we believe gets saved to the NHS from people living in our settings in comparison to traditional housing comes into tens of millions of pounds a year. So if planning and the planning system sort of allowed us to sort of be better analysed and better regulation, not deregulation, better regulation, then I think that would help as well. That would certainly help other entrants coming in. I think what's important for any new entrant coming in, they need to be operator led. So you're going to see a mix of people who are developer-led because they think that it's a good place because the supply and demand, they might make a bit of money. Now, that's not the case. An operator-led model, because people are buying more than bricks and mortar. As I said before, the people are buying into that comfort that if something went wrong, we're there, but not overtly. They don't want to live in a care setting. They just want to know that someone around there is caring, like you would in a community. If you live in a village, you go and knock on your neighbour's door if you see or something's not quite right. That's what we have. So it's very much like that.
Great, brilliant, Jamie. Where can people find more about Inspired Villages?
Well, our website, which is www.inspiredvillages.co.uk. Everything is on there. All our communities now, the ones coming forward, would be the best place for people to find any more information out about us. We do care passionately about what we do. We're very proud of our business. I'm very proud to be in control of the business. We've got a very like-minded people working throughout the business, and we're very much focused, as I say, on doing the right thing. So if anyone wanted to come and visit any of our communities, we're still operating COVID protocols, so it's appointment only. But the details of each village are on our website, and they can visit and come and see what we do and come have a cup of tea.
Brilliant. Well, it's been fascinating chatting to you this afternoon, Jamie. I really, I think your passion obviously comes through, and you care for your customers. So all power to you. So it's Jamie Bunce from Inspired Villages. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you once again to Jamie Bunce for joining me today. To find out more about how Inspired Villages, check out the show notes on our website at retirementcafe.co.uk, where you'll find those useful links. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and be sure to subscribe either on our website or your preferred podcast player so you never miss an episode. I would like to thank Carol at Talking Finances with Women for writing such a positive review titled A Podcast with Depth. She said the wide variety of topics covered by Justin's guest is a testament to his message that retirement and preparing for it is about much more than tax and investment solutions. A privilege to have been able to put in my 2 pennies worth. Thank you for that, Carol. Did you know that all the podcasts are available to listen to or watch on my YouTube channel? If you prefer to watch my conversations and actually see the guests, simply head to YouTube and search for Justin King MFP or follow the link from our website. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find me on Twitter at Justin King CFP or email me at hello@retirementcafe.co.uk. So until next time, I'm Justin King, helping you feel more informed in your retirement.